in a couple of examples, some leaders are sharing their vulnerabilities, and how does that impact the happiness at work? Because being vulnerable, it's not really being happy, right? Quite often they are sharing their struggles with health problems or with their family problems. What would you be your advice?
This goes back to leaders generate trust and credibility when they are open and vulnerable. And again, they're being selective about that. They're not kind of open kimono all over the place. They're being smart and selective. But in general, we want to work with people who are authentic. I'm saying this one more time. I just wrote an article about perfectionism and how we tend to have this view of gotta be perfect and we want to be excellent and we want to do a good job. But perfectionism can actually distance you and separate you from other people because people feel like, oh my gosh, I'll never measure up. Or, oh my gosh, I can't subscribe to that level of criticism, or, oh my, that person isn't real anyway. So when we are vulnerable, it generates actually trust and credibility. When we ask questions, when we look for information from others, when we are clearly open to learning new things and open to diverse points of view, those are a very big deal for leaders. And so that vulnerability is also important because it tends to bond us with others. There's a really great study that says that if we show up at work and don't feel like we can be fully ourselves, that detracts from our own mental health. And leaders need to have the opportunity to have their best mental health too. And that means being able to show up and be real. One of the things I think the pandemic has done for us is it's given us a window into people's lives. Right? We hear their dog barking, or their child comes and sits on their lap during a meeting, or we hear that they're going to take stew to an elderly neighbor after the meeting is done. That openness about our lives, I think, is really empowering. When I can say, nope, I'm not available for that meeting because I'm going to be with our daughter in Chicago that weekend, that can also empower others to feel like their whole selves matter, their whole people matter. And we value people for the work that they're doing, but we also value them for the whole person that they're bringing to their responsibilities.
So the leader should not be seeking perfectionism because it's not possible to be perfect. But on the other hand, a leader is attracting people in the vicinity, and also whoever is in the team of that leader is reflecting their work. So let's say there is somebody who is not quite perfect in your vicinity. And what would be your advice? How would you react, Tracy, being a leader of somebody who's slightly behind everybody else?
That's a really, really great question. I like that a culture is significantly determined by the worst behavior it will tolerate. And so what that says to me is that sometimes we'll have people around us and we'll be like, wow, that you'll hear this at an organization. Wow, that person is really, really a nice person, but they can't quite get it done, but they're so nice and their behavior is not being dealt with. Or maybe there's somebody who's brilliant and they're a rainmaker and they're bringing in sales, but they're not the greatest person to work with. I think we need to really hold each other accountable, hold team members accountable for all of those elements of performance, our task performance, our relationship performance, our fit with the culture, our ability to stretch with others. And so when we see people that aren't measuring up, aren't performing in the way that they need to perform, I think we want to obviously give them that feedback, give them time to improve, ask questions in order to understand if there are things that are getting in their way, barriers that we can remove, and then finally really hold them accountable if it's not a great fit. Because if it's not a great fit and somebody isn't performing brilliantly, they usually know it and they usually can find something better somewhere else. I heard a CHRO say one time that she was talking about the interview process, and she was saying, there is absolutely the right job for you. It may not be with our company, but there is a right job for you. So the right answer is helping people to be their best and fit, even if it's not in their current role. So helping them to grow, helping them to find other things where that's necessary. And I think there's a little debate about perfectionism too. We absolutely want to be excellent. We absolutely want certain things to be perfect. The next time I board an airplane, I want that pilot to do his or her job perfectly. And it's also reasonable for us to kind of push back on ourselves and say, gosh, what are the places where we absolutely need perfection? What are the places where we can absolutely be excellent and where we can invest our energy in the right kinds of things, where we're not overthinking, over processing, over obsessing? We want to find that right balance where we're doing awesome work and we're pushing ourselves to be better all the time, but we're not to the point that we're robbing ourselves of energy or robbing others around us of energy either.